As always, your book, your intro.
Always got to do that to me.
I do.
Uh,
That is my one joy in life with books that you choose.
hey guys, we did Fate's Strange Fake finally, or we're continuing it finally. I actually think I gave us a pretty good section to cover here that's going to be topical because in theory, whenever it finally starts airing, this should be the volumes that the anime will cover in the first airing for the
And
whatever the first season is.
and correct me if I'm wrong, but having just read, well, not just read, but having read Prototype relatively recently,
Hmm.
these books are tiny compared to Prototype. Like these books are like 60 pages. Prototypes were each like 200.
These in terms of page count, these hit like so prototype is hitting like 200. This is hitting closer to 140 to 150.
Oh, then we read them in different formats. On Google
Yeah.
Docs, they're only because they open on Google Docs for me.
Hmm.
They're only like 60 pages. And I mean 60 pages for me, that's a casual afternoon fan fiction. These were
Interesting.
much faster to get through.
Let me actually compare those right now because I can compare the sizes just on my reader right now because I have them both on my reader still.
Yeah,
And
I
I
mean
know my
I'm
reader's going to format it a little bit differently, but I can compare.
yeah. I mean I'm just thinking.
Let's see. Let's compare volume 3
They
of Strange
seem
Fake.
shorter.
So volume 3 is a solid 160 pages on my reader.
Okay.
Fate Prototype volume, hey look, 3. 169? No, they're about the same size.
Hang on, I'm opening one of the fragments on Google Docs because I did read fragments as PDFs.
Let me take a look at your Google Doc for Strange Fake. I'm a little worried that I gave you like five,
Oh,
like
no,
half
no,
a
no.
books.
Hey. Prototype also showed up as like 68 pages.
Okay.
It's the
It just
formatting.
went faster for you to read these.
I'm a yeah, apparently. They're not any shorter, but it felt faster. The what's the word for like when you trick your brain by just formatting something a different way? Like there's a word for it when you do something like that, right? Because it's something that like people used to say you could do for like eating quantities and weight loss, right? They'd be like, instead of cutting your pizza into eighths, cut it into twelfths, because your brain will be like, oh, I've already had four slices, that's a lot. And instead of meaning half the pizza, it means a quarter of the pizza. It's like tricking your brain, right? So I might have done that to myself. I might have, you know, tricked myself into thinking that they were much shorter, even though in reality they were, in fact, the same length.
I actually had to think about that though, because this series is considerably longer than Prototype, so it wouldn't have surprised me if the volumes had been shorter. But no, it's not the case.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering.
Yeah, we ended up reading pretty much to the halfway point because it's already been confirmed that volume 10 is going to be the final volume, and we're waiting on that right now.
Hmm.
Um, so that's why we're reading volumes 2 through 5 today. I'm gonna save 6 through 10 till 10 comes out and is translated, and then we'll do the five of those as sort of a follow-up video, hopefully in time with the anime, but we'll see when the anime is coming out.
Okay.
So yeah. Um, where do I want to start with this series? So I take it if it felt quicker for you to read, you probably enjoyed it a bit more than Prototype.
I mean, obviously, but a good portion of that just came from the formatting. These are formatted as fucking books, you know,
Yeah.
which makes my life so much more pleasant.
I'll say regardless of what we think of Prototype, the translation here was just simply better than the Prototype
Yeah,
translation we read. And I know there's an ongoing or kind of on hiatus ongoing better translation of Prototype, but that's not what we read.
yeah, I mean, this wasn't perfect. This translation has grammatical and spelling errors
Mhm.
occasionally, but they're small enough that like your brain does that thing where your brain fixes it for you as you're reading.
You have to be going
Um,
over it with the precision of an English teacher.
well, the only reason I noticed them is because since I opened it in Google Docs, Grammarly. So it
Ah.
highlights when there's a misspelling, even if I don't notice it initially because my brain auto corrects over what the word should be. So it wasn't really a problem.
That's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
I also just, I don't know. I thought it was better written
Oh,
than
I did too.
Prototype. Yeah.
Like that's not a hot take here.
Well, I didn't know if I was dropping a hot take.
Look, I think it's the fact that it's not being told out of order is does a lot for this series. Instead, it's a lot closer to what you sort of expect out of a more battle royale focused series where it's like jumping between different factions perspectives.
Hmm.
And all right, since this is the everyone wants to know what Seki thinks of this character channel. What's your favorite factions so far in the story? Like we've got
Ooh.
Gilgamesh and Telk, was that her name? Gilgamesh and his master doing their own thing.
Yeah.
You've got Richard the Lionheart working with the False Hassan and uh Enkidu, and then the new character we met with Sigma doing their thing.
Hmm.
And you've got Flat sort of meeting up with the police commissioner,
I mean,
but he's also got El Malloy in his backing. And God, if that El Malloy scene where El Malloy like tests the police commissioner was that like a really cool scene.
did it not feel a little bit like the first meeting of Ellen Light?
Yeah,
Did it not channel the energy?
it
But
did.
like in such a good way. Not that the Light and L scene is bad, but like oof, perfection. I think I'm very biased in this series. I like Gilgamesh. I like Enkidu. I really like seeing Lord
They're kind of in
Elmalloy.
two separate. Those are all three factions.
I know, and there's so like that's what I mean by this is better written, you know? Like it's not just that I like those characters, but I also like how they're being written. Like it seems logical, it makes sense. It doesn't feel like a stretch or a reach.
Mhm.
And because of that, I can kind of like jive with following them through the story, you know, where I'm just kind of like, uh-huh, yeah, that's totally what this asshole would do, you know? Oh
Mhm.
yeah, 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 that's definitely what's happening here, you know? And I don't have an issue with it per se. So I'm not like the fangirl in me wants to say Gil. It does. It does for the meme, you know? For the me and the D&D campaign and how well I think they're writing this fucking asshole. I think I'm probably most happy though with El Malloy and his side. They seem the most interesting so far to me.
I love the politic aspect of like what's going on in the background with El Malloy. Like we cut away to his perspective every once in a while, and he is like, "I am effectively under house arrest because nobody wants me to get involved and look into this."
Yeah.
And it
I
just
want to
makes
see
perfect sense after reading like case files.
I want to see this man housebreak his I want to see this man jailbreak his house arrest so bad. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like I fully like I'm certain that's not what's going to happen, you know? Like I don't think he's going to jailbreak his fucking house arrest and, you know, solve everything, but it's what I want to happen. You know what I
I
mean?
don't know. There's enough characters in this series that like pulling like that twist or that turn of the story would not surprise me. This series is packed with characters.
That
Like
is
I
true.
probably couldn't recall them all off the top of my head.
There is truly an insane amount of characters. Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot to keep track of, but they do a good job with them, like making them all different and memorable, even if you're not remembering the names of all of them. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And it's nice seeing servants in there that I've covered more semi recently, you know, like seeing Dumas in there. Just kind of like the little topper on the cake going, "Ooh, Dumas. I remember you." You know?
I love how fucking useless he himself is. Like he is just someone that calls the commissioner. It's like, hey,
He's
give me some shit every once in a
he's trying with his hunches. He's
while.
trying. He's making an effort. Is that effort strong? No. Is that effort particularly useful? No, not always. But he's trying.
There's some ones that you covered a long time ago in there too. Like we did Jack a long time ago. We did Pale Rider a decent amount of time ago.
Yeah, I think Jack's probably the oldest one that we've covered.
Hmm.
And of course there are characters I don't know yet, technically.
Yeah, but it's a
So,
it's a novel.
yeah. But yeah, but with Jackie, Jackie is interesting, but I don't have much interest in Jackie. You know what I mean?
Well, this isn't Jackie per se. It's a
No,
different
but
Jack. This one's
but
actually Jack.
yeah. But like that's not the most interesting part to me. You know, maybe I'm wrong for that, but I'm much more enjoying this Gilgamesh and Kidu bullshit. I'm here for this.
I love that Richard and Ayaka pair with Enkidu and his master, the dog.
Hmm.
And the first thing that like they don't realize they're walking into, oh yeah, just because we're pairing with Enkidu, now Gilgamesh we have a target on our back for Gilgamesh.
Yeah, it's just like we've made this alliance with this really cool person. Ah, shit.
Proceeds to almost die in the fourth or fifth volume.
Like we have painted the biggest of targets on our backs. It is glowing. It is circular. You can see it from a distance.
They really were saved by the fact that Alcides kind of punks Gilgamesh in that last volume or two.
Saved by the fucking bell.
Speaking of Gilgamesh being the first servant out,
You know what? That actually didn't surprise me too much because this Gil is so he's such the golden Gil, like such a self-centered, like self-assured, like I can do nothing wrong, but like not in a I'm perfect way, very much in a I believe I can do nothing wrong, but secretly is doing a lot of things wrong. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
the vibes were there from the very beginning. So it makes sense that he was out so fast.
but it is a little bit funny
It's a
that
little
the
bit
way he
funny
gets
that
knocked out is because the Einsburn girl who I think they've revealed the who's in her already, right?
I think so, yeah.
That she just kind of walks up and is holding the key that he throws away in the very first volume
Yeah.
and uses that to close his treasury on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
I mean, what's
that's
the
insult to injury right there.
it's the look, here comes the consequences of your own
I
actions.
love when that happens to Gil. It's hilarious.
It's great. It's stunning. We love it.
Um, what else do we have going on here? Um, I guess I'm gonna step back, sit into my seat here, and start being a little critical. I think the series kind of expands out a little too much around volume three, maybe early volume four. Like I felt like we were maybe keeping track of one too many characters. And it was getting to be a bit overwhelming. I think it works by the end of volume four and five, just because at that point things really start converging on each other. That's around when Flat and the police commissioner get in touch, so they're now working. They have one cohesive storyline. But like when you're tracking every last member of the commissioner is in contact with, and it ends up being like 5 to 7 people or something stupid like that, it's a bit much.
I didn't have a problem with that, but I am also well used to like shonen battle stories with a lot of protagonists.
That's
So I
fair.
think and I'm generally not to toot my own horn here, but generally about 3 times better than you at remembering names.
That's
Um,
also pretty fair.
so I didn't really have a problem keeping up with them. And it wasn't a permanent spiraling expansion of cast, so I didn't have an issue with it. Like it was well within the scope of like, you know, the amount of different storylines that I've had to keep up with in other manga or novels that I've
Hmm.
read. So I didn't have an issue with that personally. But once again, experience. I mean, yeah.
That's fair. That's 100% fair.
And I'm not a huge fan of splitting up a ton of different storylines, like point blank period, unless you've got like characters that I'm at least mildly interested in seeing the perspectives of leading like each different section. I mean, that's what has killed several book series in my life. But this was fine for
Did
me.
you did you happen to read like the author's notes at the end?
No.
Some of them are pretty fucking hilarious.
Uh,
Uh,
I avoided them because I wasn't sure what would be in them.
my favorite ones, there's two. My second favorite one is the one where Narita, the Durara author, Strange Fakes author, uh, he's like, yeah, so every once in a while, I give out my plan for Strange Fake, and I'm told, hey, go ahead and do it. And I ask, will this be covered at all in FGO? And they're like, nah. And then I play the event in FGO and they cover it, and then I have to go in and demand the transcript for the upcoming stories in FGO. And then he talks about how he watched the Case Files author also deal with that.
That's unfortunate for him.
Like, I'm pretty sure it was Dante's, like his entire story
Oh,
coming out at the same time as Dumas that fucked him over.
I will say I can definitely sense the Durarara in this as opposed to some of the other Fate stuff we've read. Like the
Mm-hmm.
author's got a pretty distinctive style. Um and I think part of the reason why I didn't really have a problem with all the different converging perspectives that kind of were split off is because that also happens a lot in Durarara, if you noticed. Because, like, we're in the uniquely good position that we have semi recently watched Durarara, right? So you've now watched Durarara, and I've seen Durarara, and
Mm-hmm.
I've read Durarara as well, but seeing it is enough for this comparison. That the author is, I think, quite good at balancing a bunch of different perspectives slowly converging upon one another to build a greater picture. The author is like really good at that.
Oh, he's great at that. Like, I think that's
Mhm.
probably his biggest strength as far as writing for Fate.
And honestly, yeah, like in a battle royale, in a like that's perfect because if you have an author who can handle writing all of those different perspectives and slowly converging them together towards a final ending, you can get an amazingly well-written story without having to jump all over the place and without having to shaft certain characters from the narrative, right? Because like in Fate Stay Night, right, in the anime, some of the servants just got shafted in terms of what we saw, right? Same thing in UBW, right? That like we follow the storyline of like two or three main characters and everything else is just kind of happening in the background, right? I fully believe that Narita um does kind of the exact opposite where you do get to see every single thing happening and it's all happening like about at the same time so you know what's happening like to the other people in relation to the people you're following, unlike in Prototype where it was kind of
I
jumping.
will say, I think I will come to the defense of Fate Stay Night
um
here as the resident having read Fate Stay Night. That comes down to a difference in the mediums that they were written for, I think, because Fate Stay Night's a visual novel. Inherently, it's going to be more of a first person perspective.
yeah,
And so you can't really do the same jumping around thing. That's a similar complaint people had about Fate Stay Night, the anime, versus Fate Zero, the anime. But when you take into account the source material, it makes a lot more sense, and you really couldn't tell the same kind of story that way.
yeah,
Um,
but
but I
like
think Fate Prototype's a much fairer comparison.
because in Fate Prototype I could tell that the author was trying to do something similar and cover the story of everyone involved, but it it wasn't very logically organized and it was hard to follow because of that.
Mhm.
because of the way that the author chose to do that. Whereas Narita is really good at keeping everything kind of like logically organized and grouped together by time, and like events, so that you really can place two things happening at the exact same time in different places very easily in your mind.
So my favorite author's note actually kind of it's to that point actually the his creating a bunch of disparate characters and converging them. Um, it was might have even been book four. It was book 4 or 5. His author's note was basically, hey, Nasu. Remember when I told you we'd be done by book 4? Or no, sorry, book 5? Yeah, that was a lie. And apparently what happened was originally he was gonna like introduce these factions, spend most of the time focusing on Ayaka and Kidu and Sigma and Falsasan. Like that group was
Mm-hmm.
basically your main characters. And then the factions would have started like the dominoes would have started falling by book 5 and things would have finished up around then.
Mm-hmm.
Except then he started developing each individual faction more and more and more until they became fully fleshed out stories in their own right. And now he's they're basically uh
and
the cast
and
is massive as far as like how often they recur. The main character is a lot more blurred, and the volume count just doubled.
and let me tell you, it was a stunningly good decision on his part. Her part is Narita's that
Male, no, I'm pretty sure
him,
Naruto
yeah,
is male. Yeah.
stunningly good decision on his part. I think this was absolutely the right way to go with this. um I think if I had only been following like one perspective, this would have been the lesser for it.
It definitely plays to his strong suits a lot more. I think that he did
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
Like I had the complaint about the casketing torch. I think that was just a transitionary thing. Because I have a feeling that's when like the cast was being like, wait, I can develop here.
Hmm.
Because like as soon as that author's note hits, like around that same time, that's when the casts start converging a little bit so they're easier to track. And I think that's when he realized he was going to actually be developing these plot lines a lot more tightly.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I appreciate him for that. Oh my God, Peachy, the press of your paw into my thigh is painful because of your fatness. She's off.
I don't know how well you keep track of action scenes in novel format, but especially with the anime coming out, are there any scenes from this book that you want to see adapted?
I want to see Gilgamesh get his shit rocked.
The Gilgamesh versus Alcides and then
Look,
punked by
look,
Ishtar.
and the reason why I want to see him get his shit rocked is because I feel like this is gonna be the only time I'm ever gonna see him get his shit rocked in an anime.
I mean, no. Does Unlimited Blade Works count? He got his shit rocked there pretty hard.
Nah, no. Unlimited Blade Works doesn't count. That was funky. It doesn't count.
Monkey, though, the consequences of his own actions.
I know, but it was still funky. It doesn't count.
Um, Personally, like the scene I'm most excited to see happen is going to happen in like the next episode or two that they release, which
Yeah, whenever that
2027,
happens,
that I'll be happy to see it. It's the
2028, 2029. I'm thinking one episode every year as a New Year's gift. Yeah, for the
yeah.
next 23 years.
Look, I'm hoping that joke is completely outdated by the time this goes up. But
I'm crossing my fingers to bet that it won't be.
I think well, they've already confirmed that it's going to start airing this year. Now, but the scene I'm looking forward to the most is I think it was even titled this in the chapter, the battle without servants, when you
Mm,
have the dead apostle fighting the cyborg church guy in the middle of the police station.
yeah.
That was like, but that's always been my favorite scene from even back
T.H.E,
when I
what
read the
did you
manga.
do?
Uh-oh, is your recording still going?
Yes,
Okay,
we should be fine.
okay.
But yeah, I heard a ding.
But yeah, that's definitely the scene I'm looking forward to seeing animated the most.
Fair. I think that you're huffing copium about it coming out before this video goes up, but you know,
When does this video go up?
not that long from now.
Huh.
It's not that long.
Uh, Hang on. I actually want to check this.
Probably in May.
Oh, is it May?
I think it's
I
in
actually
May.
might not get it by then. Like, I don't think it'll be airing, but confirmation of the broadcast season? Oh, yeah, that is May. Yeah, no, it won't be airing by then. We might not even have a confirmation by then. Look, I though it's we're gonna have a confirmation by August. Like that's when it's gonna be confirmed, but that could be August for winter of this year because they've already kind of missed multiple major events where they could have announced it for summer of this year
Yeah,
or fall of this year is when we're probably getting it.
yeah. You would think I'd been away like on an oil rig for a month with the way she's behaving. All I was gone throughout the day today.
I'm in. Look, I'm no longer coping. You're right. I'm in depressed knick-knack state.
You're huffing that copium. Yeah, you're not even huffing that copium. You're coming
No,
down from the high.
no, this adaptation. It's
Well,
probably fall.
enjoy the fact that I enjoyed this.
Yeah, it means I don't have to get a groan when I eventually put this in the hat. Like
Nope.
have this submitted,
And I'm
which
not gonna
might
f-
be a while.
and I'm not gonna fight against the next 5 volumes either, or whatever.
All right then. Well, I don't know that I have that much more to say. Do you have any smoke you want to blow up Narita's ass?
I mean, I feel like that's the whole purpose of this video is just, put this man on a pedestal and start building a monument. Um I just I love Narita's writing so much. I love the way that he constructs his stories. I think it's possibly the only time that I've ever seen an author manage to do micro macro writing successfully with purpose and actually not have it turn out serviceable but turn out good, right? Like keeping up with the micro actions and micro interactions while still managing to tie it all together on a macro scale.
I've seen it before, but Naruto definitely does it at a much larger scale than a lot of people manage. Like
Yeah.
this is like up there with Fate Apocrypha as being the largest cast. In
Yeah.
fact, it's probably
It's
larger.
massive.
Like Fate Apocrypha for its 14 servants only has like 7 or 8 relevant masters. This one, for all the servants, their masters are given an actual piece of characterization.
Yeah. Plus you have all the non-master characters as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So he definitely I think what's more because I don't think it's unorthodox to have a set like the separate converging plot lines, but the scale that Narita does it as is what's impressive because he does it at a much larger scale than I think any other author I've seen do it at.
Hmm. It's beautiful. I love it.
All right, well that about covers it. It'll be a minute before we get back to this because we have to wait for Volume 10 to come out and wait for a translation to be finished up. Which this translator is pretty on top of it. It probably won't take more than a year for that after the volume comes out. But even still, it's not going to be tomorrow.
No, because right now there's only 9 volumes out.
I'm hoping the next Fate thing that I cover with you on off the shelves either going to be the next arc of Elmaloy, or if that takes too long, I've got some other stuff on the back burner.
I
And I
would
think
like to read the manga of this.
we could touch on that. The manga's kind of stalled out not that long ago, and the translation might be caught up. I'd have to take a look.
Still, I'd be interested.
Yeah, we could take a look at some point. I've read the manga; it's a good manga.
Mhm.
All right then. Yeah. Well, we'll see y'all next time. I haven't got anything else to say.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Bye.